Welcome back to the video series on visualizations with the Japan Biographical Database, or JBDB. In this video, we will look at one specific way of selecting seed persons to visualize. Starting from the visualization settings page, we will now click on Select by Source instead of Select by Name as in the last videos. As you can immediately see, there is now a new set of settings available right here on the bottom. These are exclusive to the source selection. So for any other seed selection method, you can simply refer to the basic settings we discussed in the first video. Let's briefly talk about these source-specific settings. The first setting, limit connections to persons from sources, simply means that the network that will be shown is limited to include only persons who appear in the sources. Now, the connections between those persons can be determined by any other source, not just the one you specified. However, this setting allows you to basically just show the network of this one source. The second setting, limit connections to selected sources, does kind of the same, but just for the events underlying the network instead of the person selection. So this will result in a network that will also include persons from the source you selected, but the events will only be those from the source you selected. And if those events happen to include persons who are not part of the source, they will be shown too. Now, the full limitation is available with the last setting, limit all visualization data to selected sources. This is basically a combination of the two. This will get you the narrowest source-centric visualization possible. So this means that not only the persons who are shown can be only those from the sources, but also the events underlying the network itself are also limited to the selected sources. Okay, so having said that, let's look at the visualization of one source. For example, for this video, we will select the Edo Hogakubu, which is a directory of Edo period literary persons. So for this example, we will keep the basic settings right here and do not click on any of the source-specific settings. And let's see what kind of network we get for this source. Okay, so the network is here, and we can see that it contains 170 nodes and 547 edges. As we discussed in the previous videos, all the persons with red text are those from our seed selection. So this means all persons with the red text right here are those appearing in the Edo Hogakubu, the source we just selected. All the other people, like this one, for example, whose text is black, they do not appear in the source, but they are, as you can see, connected to people from the source we selected and are therefore included in this network. So now, to see what kind of effect the source-specific settings have, we will go back to the settings page and select the first of these three settings for illustration purposes. So we say we limit connections to persons from sources and see what this results in. Now you can immediately see that the network is much smaller, so only containing 10 persons and 9 connections between them. This is now what we discussed before, the network of people from the source we selected and only the connections between them. And as you can see, that is a very small network right here. Now, as a last visualization example, we will not show the other source-specific settings, but instead demonstrate one of the settings we mentioned in the first video, but didn't demonstrate until now, which is up here, show unconnected nodes in graph. So this will show persons from this source in the network who also do not have any events in the database. So this is useful if you want to simply show all persons regardless if they have any connections or not. So if we select this for our given source and click on visualize, let's see what the network will be. Now, as you can see, this network is much, much larger, containing 1028 nodes and 547 edges. And if we zoom right in, we will see that all the persons right here who do not have any connections have their text in red, meaning they are from the source we just selected. And the network here in the middle is the one we saw at the very beginning. So from the persons in this source who have some connections to other persons. But as you can see, the majority of people who appear in the source do not have any connections as of yet. So again, this is a useful way to simply show all persons who appear in a certain source, for example, to just see how many there are and how many of them have or do not have any connections to other persons in the database. So to sum up, in this video, we have seen how selecting persons by source allows us to further narrow down the network construction, which is not available in other person selection methods. And we have also seen how to use the setting show unconnected nodes in graph and when it is useful. So I would say this is it for this video, and I will see you again in the next one.